Welcome to Behind the Teams, How the Most Innovative Companies Work, a custom podcast in partnership with Atlassian. I'm your host, David Cohen. In this episode, I'll be chatting with Roberto Stanicchi, the Executive Vice President of Hot Wheels and the Global Head of Vehicles and Building Sets at Mattel, along with Ted Wu, the Head of Design for Hot Wheels, and Subri Kovalmuttam, the VP of Technology, to learn more about how Mattel's culture of collaboration works. To kick things off, I asked Roberto about Hot Wheels' history and evolution as a brand.
Hot Wheels started in 1968, so it's a great story, the origin story of Hot Wheels, because at the time, Barbie was really strong, and Barbie had been created for almost a decade at that point. And one of the founders of Mattel, Elliot Handler, he really dreamed of a better vehicle car and toys. At the time, there was a brand called Matchbox, which today is also owned by Mattel, that was the leader in the market. And he brought together really the spirit of collaboration and innovation by taking a car designer from General Motors and a rocket scientist from Raytheon around the area and tasked them to create a car that looked better and performed better than anything else in the market. And that's how Hot Wheels was born.
How has it grown? Because it's such a huge part of our culture, from just creating those first cars to where it is now. How has it evolved over the years as a brand?
I think that the secret sauce for Hot Wheels' longevity and staying power really has to do with this authenticity and the fact that it's been rooted in car culture, right? The fact that Hot Wheels understands its roots and it has a point of view in terms of car design and car performance has really been key to the success from day one. If you actually look at the original 16 cars from Hot Wheels, none of them were just regular versions of cars that you could see in the street. They were always custom versions. And that spirit of customization, of challenging the status quo, has always been a part of the DNA of this brand from the beginning to now. So what happens with that is that the consequence is that the team not only embodies that personality trait, but really pushes the boundary of what toys could be, of what live experiences could be, any manifestation of the brand. So to me, it's always this combination of these two factors. It's true authenticity and then this restlessness that the team has, because Hot Wheels is really about this idea of the challenger spirit.
You mentioned the team. What is the team like that works here? What are the kinds of personalities of the people that it takes to work within vehicles here at Mattel?
Yeah, I mean, loving cars is a prerequisite, right? You have to be passionate about cars. But I think what makes this team special, it's not just the skill set that is brought from designers that come from car manufacturers and industrial designers that are, creating some of the craziest toys in terms of physics with the tracks and the loops. But it's really their approach to innovation, their approach to the work that is actually rooted in what the brand stands for. So I think what really sets this team apart in terms of the way they collaborate, the way that they look at problems, is that they've embodied the spirit of the brand, which is what we call the challenger spirit. So oftentimes you will see in meetings, you will see in conversations that we have a seemingly impossible problem to solve, and the team will say, challenge accepted, which is the tagline of the brand. But that has really permeated the culture, and it makes them achieve things that you would think would not be possible. And that has pushed the brand forward for almost 60 years. And that's why Hot Wheels today is actually at the peak of its entire history. We are now looking at 2024 being the 7th consecutive year of best sales ever. So the highest watermark ever. And we've been beating that record for 7 years straight now.
When you talk a lot about collaboration, how do teams collaborate here to create Hot Wheels? What is that collaboration like day to day? How do the teams really need to work together?
Well, one of the things that's really special about making Hot Wheels is that it's a multidisciplinary exercise, right? Because nobody holds all of the answers to this giant puzzle of which cars are we going to make, which tracks are we going to put together, how does that show up in content, How does that show up in an animated series? How does that show up in a live event? So it's really this team sport. So we have different cross-functional teams that are allocated for the different aspects of the brand. And they really work together through a shared love of the brand and also a shared ownership of the brand. One of the things that sometimes it's a trap on cross-functional collaboration teams is that there is an appointed leader to that team. And we really make a point of saying that cross-functional team, everyone has an equal seat at the table because everyone will bring the different perspectives and expertise that they have. I think that's something that is really, again, embodied by the team members, and that collaboration allows for all the voices to be heard.
How spread out is your staff right now in terms of their ability to collaborate? Where are they in relation to one another, and how do you manage that?
If you think about from the moment that there's an idea to the moment that a fan gets their hand on a Hot Wheels product, there's people all over the world. And I think the way that we like to collaborate is really by over communicating. So obviously the core development team is housed here in El Segundo, and it's really important to have in-person collaboration for those teams just because the creative process of coming up with a play experience, there's so much ideation, there's so much trial and error, there's a lot of physics to be figured out. So a lot of that team is housed here in our headquarters in El Segundo, but you have people all over the world, both from a development in Asia, you have people in Canada, but then we have teams all over the world in almost every single country where Mattel sells product that are teams that are helping us get that product to the marketplace and engaging with the fans locally. So a lot of it is portraying that communication using, virtual communication tools, but also balancing that with in-person collaboration, even when it means flying people in to see some of the new toys that we have.
But how do these people all then work together on a day-to-day basis? If you've got people globally working on developing these products, how are you ensuring that the people here in El Segundo and the people in other countries are on top of things, or are working, in sync with one another to ensure that, the projects are moving forward?
There are project tracking tools that we use, like Workfront, for example, is one of the ones that we use. I think a bigger trait of the way that Mattel collaborate is just over communication. People are constantly together, even in challenging time zones. And I think that tools like Zoom and Teams have really opened up the access to that type of collaboration. Back in the day, we used to fly teams over to Asia to spend 2 weeks there multiple times a year. And now that has really become more of an event to accelerate some innovation or something like that, because on the day-to-day, people are just able to communicate seamlessly. And I think that that's the key trait here of this, the way that Mattel collaborates is through communication and context setting.
In addition to some of these other initiatives, you have the Hot Wheels Legends Tour. For people who don't know, what is the Hot Wheels Legends Tour? Where are you at in its history, and what has come out of it?
It's one of the most fantastic things that we've ever done with this brand in its 60-year history, because again, it's rooted in authenticity, right? So the Legends Tour started in 2018. We asked the simple question to the car customizer community. Would you want to enter your car, the one that you've been laboring over in your garage for however long? Do you want to enter your car for the chance to be immortalized as a 1/64th scale Hot Wheels? And just the notion of that, the notion of if you love that car that you've been building, to have it miniaturized into a Hot Wheels and to be sold in over 400,000 stores all over the world. And in some cases, some of the winners went on even to be incorporated into Forza Horizons as a Hot Wheels that was part of that video game. That is just mind-blowing. So to me, it's such an amazing idea that really took root with the car culture. And it started as one event here in our headquarters back in 2018. And today we have 20 countries around the world participating in what is roughly the largest traveling car show in the world. We had 2,000 cars entered for the chance to win just this year. Next year will be year 7 of Legends, and we're just so excited where it continues to grow.
I would imagine for this team, it's an epic undertaking. So what is this like for the team? What kind of level of collaboration does it take to pull off something at that scale?
Yeah, this is one of the most robust collaboration efforts that we have across the entire brand because it touches product, it touches retail, it touches in retail in different countries, it touches experiences, it touches apparel because you have the official Legends Tour t-shirt, and how are you not going to get that just like when you go to a concert? There's just so many moving pieces and so many different partners because again, one of the things that we're really proud of, as I said, is our authenticity and our place in car culture. So for every single one of these events, we have different media partners within the automotive and the car culture space. So just the coordination of that is enormous. The Legends Tour did not start in 20 countries. The Legends Tour started with one stop. So there's also this sense in this team that although we are in a big company, that we're very scrappy and entrepreneurial, that we will do one event and it's an MVP and we're going to make it work. And once we have the proof point, we scale. And now we're in 20 countries, 5 continents.
Next, I sat down with Ted Wu, who heads up design at Hot Wheels, to dive deeper into how that teamwork comes to life.
It is a process that a lot of people work on. There has to be teamwork throughout the entire process. We have designed over 25,000 individual designs within Hot Wheels in our history. So you can imagine that's a lot of vehicles. Now, it's not just one person who shepherds the design all the way through. There's various stages in which it has to pass over different hands. And again, that collaboration needs to happen. So as an example, if we have designers sketch up a vehicle that they want to create into a Hot Wheels, they're working in 2D probably, pen to paper, tablet. From there, we've got to go from 2D to 3D. And so now you're working with a sculptor. So designers are now working with sculptors and figuring out what does that look like from 2D to 3D. And a lot of things can happen when you go from 2D to 3D, of course. You got to get the turns right, got to make sure the car looks right at every angle. And now you've got a 3D vehicle. So then that vehicle then needs to be decorated, right? We need to put a livery on the vehicle. So now we're talking about a graphic designer. Now the graphic designer is going to want, hey, if we actually push this out a little bit more, we could get a better coverage here. If we did this adjustment, it might be better for the graphics to pop. Those types of considerations need to be made. And then we need to go into manufacturing. So you can imagine the process of saying, okay, now this car, we need to obviously get it out to millions of kids, hopefully, and adults everywhere. How are we going to actually make this thing? And there's manufacturing realities that we have to adhere to. So all along the way, you've got sort of this one Hot Wheels vehicle passing along through the process, and every step of the way has to be in lockstep with each other, or else we don't get it done. And I think we've found a really good process to do that, but it is a lot of work that goes into each one of these little tiny vehicles.
How spread out is the team, and how are you able to then collaborate across geography?
The design team is a global design team. So we've got folks here in El Segundo, Los Angeles, of course, and then we have folks in Asia, so both Hong Kong and China, and work very close with our plants, of course. We've got those in Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. And we're all working together, and it has to be, again, a very cohesive process that we work on. So a lot of times we're doing video conferences. You can imagine either late night calls for us, early morning calls for the team in Asia. And we're doing just a lot of back and forth, of course, you can imagine over emails. We do use Miro boards, a digital space that is almost like a large just canvas to sort of throw ideas on and bounce around and make edits in real time. And then, quite frankly, trips and getting the team physically together. And I think to me, that's a really important thing about making physical product is you just have to see it. You just have to actually touch it to see the color, the material, the finish in real life is critical when you're making something that is a physical product. So we try to go out to Asia, the team here at least a couple times a year, if not more.
And then beyond that, staying on our theme, how do you then work together as a team and collaborate to ensure that you're ahead of the culture?
I think one of the good things about our team here is, one, there's a general sense of teamwork and camaraderie. Like it's part of our culture. One of the things I know I've tried to do as the head of design is create a safe space, and create a space where everyone has a voice and everyone can contribute, and no one's afraid to say anything and not be afraid to fail. I think for designers, we do our best work when we feel like we're safe. That's something I'm sure we can all relate to. But especially in design, to get into the zone and to that flow state, you've got to sort of be at a very comfortable level. And so one of the things that I've tried to do is make sure that that space is available. The other area I think that is really important in terms of a shared value that we all hold is quality. And we have super high standards on this team. I think it's one where, everyone individually hold themselves to a really high bar, as well as make sure that our neighbors are accountable. And we're not shy to say, hey, you know what, that was good, but let me challenge you a little bit. And here's something that we could do that's a little bit better. And that's something you'll see across all the teams, whether it's working on die-cast cars or track sets or what have you. So those two things, to me, creating a safe space and also upholding high quality and high values, having a culture that enforces those, I think is paramount.
Well, I think it all comes down to respect. And so within that, how much do people respect one another and do people trust one another? Because obviously you are at the top of them. You're Hot Wheels. It doesn't get better than that. So how do you ensure that, how do you trust the people that you're with to make sure you are maintaining the level of the brand?
100%. I think that part of that trust is a great word. I think we trust each other to, again, everyone's going to do a great job, but we also trust each other to know, hey, if someone's giving me feedback, it's probably coming from a great place. And so I should listen to that. I think that being on Hot Wheels too, just the fact that it is a brand that is, quite frankly, older than a lot of us here, there is a sense of pride, but also responsibility that comes with that. And so we need to make sure that the legacy of the brand is continuing forward and going on an upward trajectory.
What would you say have been some of Hot Wheels' biggest successes that have come through collaboration? How have you made history by working together as a team?
One that comes to mind that just recently wrapped up was our Hot Wheels Legends Tour, which of course is our tour that we've done globally. And it's a Hot Wheels car show that actually travels again throughout the world. It was something we started in 2018 for the 50th anniversary of the Hot Wheels brand, and was one car show here in LA. Has since grown to a car show that has over 20 stops, hits 13 different countries, and we viewed over 5,000 cars over the course of this past year. So the idea of the show really is that we are inviting people to come in, share their car builds, and the winner out of all the shows has their car immortalized as a Hot Wheels diecast car. And the reason I say it's about teamwork is because there's so many different teams involved in making this happen. So obviously from a design standpoint, we are there, we're judging the cars, but we're also there to sort of hopefully fuel the fandom by just creating the cars that we create and hopefully creating a groundswell of support for this event. The event itself is an undertaking, and so our brand teams, our marketing teams are out, our event planning teams are out there trying to make this happen. And then our teams across the world who are replicating not only the show that we have here in LA, but also the ones that we have across the world, they're doing a great job. So it's really a fantastic example of teams around the world coming together for one amazing event that has culminated in the past 7 years into something that is bigger and better than I could have ever imagined.
And where does it go from here? Because it's grown so much just in these years as it's existed. Where do you see the Hot Wheels Legends Tour going?
That's a great question. We just have our 7th show for the Hot Wheels Legends Tour. So next year, I expect it to be bigger and bolder than ever before. That being said, we're always looking to add a twist and innovate. So your guess is as good as mine. We just finished this past week. So brainstorm time starts now.
And what's fascinating is a lot of this collaboration is happening among teams spread out around the globe. To learn more about the key role that technology plays to support all this innovative teamwork, I spoke to Subri Kovalmuddam, the VP of Technology at Mattel.
We have, over the years, invested in a lot of tools. Mattel has always been this global organization, and global collaboration has always been very critical for us. But especially in this post-pandemic world, when you think about it, the need has expanded even more, right? And it's even more so now. We need to have those types of collaboration, capabilities. So we've invested in a lot of tools, and we are constantly looking for, newer opportunities. Atlassian is a huge partner for us in our journey in building this ecosystem. So it starts with Jira Align. That's a tool that we use. Think of it as the 30,000 feet view of what we are doing, and talking to the organization about what's coming in the next year. And then it also allows us to prioritize based on return on investment, so making sure that the teams are focusing on what matters the most for the organization. It shows us interdependencies, because then a lot of times it's very interesting. You see one brand that might come up with, hey, I need this. And then you go, anybody can go, oh, you know what? It'll be interesting if you take that same capability and apply it for something else, like American Girl or whatever. And those types of ideation actually happens because some of these tools can help us. We also use Jira. Jira gives us the ability to provide visibility into our tasks, the features that we deliver, the capabilities. And, another really interesting thing that we have just embarked on is, in the past, understanding how well we are delivering towards our commitments, or even understanding the quality of our deliverables, it's always been kind of a subjective thing. With Jira, on the other hand, now we have the data, right? So now you have dashboards that literally tell you that's really where you need to focus on getting better. So, when you're in a data-driven organization where you're focusing on, improvements, and that the data is telling you that that's where you need to do, then it actually helps us get better collectively. Confluence is another tool, Atlassian tool that we use. Starting from documenting ideas all the way through designs, knowledge capture, being able to share knowledge across the regions, with our partners. And again, I don't want to forget the fact that, our operations teams, they manage this environment. You have dev, you have QA, and then these things go into production. And then you have these operations team manage that. They need a knowledge repository to rely on. And that's also where these tools come in. What I really like about it is the fact that these tools connect nicely with each other. It's not like you've got these three different tools that don't work in isolation. They kind of work together and creates these unique integrated platform that really helps us.
Can you talk about that unique challenge of trying to project manage here at Mattel, and what you need to do as the Vice President of Technology to ensure that kind of collaboration can happen?
Our industry is evolving, and our businesses are becoming more and more complex. When you look at our projects, in order to deliver these projects successfully, sometimes we have to rely on multiple vendors working on the same project at the same time. And that actually is harder than it might sound at first, because, there is a real danger of people stepping on each other's toes. And there's a real danger on us actually either failing to deliver or delivering substandard, bad quality code. None of that is acceptable as a business. So, some of these tools that we now use, and some of the CI/CD processes that we have brought in place actually has made that possible now. We can actually have more than one vendor or one partner that's actually working on, the same project and can successfully deliver this software, which is fascinating to me. Look, and one of the things that I really appreciate about the Atlassian tool sets especially is, you have workflows, right? So there is the kind of how work goes from, department to department, individual to individual, and it's all built in. And we have identified some of those type of problems that we are solving, whether it's a bug fix, whether it's a capability delivery, whatever it is. And we have built those custom workflows that kind of connect the dots for us very effectively. So we have embraced the safe, agile mindset, if you will. And to me, it's like, as long as we really double down on it, and this comes from the top. It is something that truly is an organizational priority for us to make sure we follow those principles. And we have really, over the last several years, we've gotten a lot more mature in that space. And we continue to mature. We're not by any means there yet, but we continue to mature in that space. But it is really, I would say, streamlined our delivery process. And again, like I mentioned before, this notion of relying on data to understand where your opportunities for improvement are. But look, ultimately it comes down to communication, right? So if you create this environment where people feel empowered to share, raise concerns, and talk about whatever it is that's working, that's not working, and you react to it, and you create that open environment where people can speak about it, then I think it tends to work out.
And so all of this creative and innovative collaboration ends up delivering cool cars, experiences, and more to Hot Wheels' devoted fans. When it comes to the future of Hot Wheels, I wanted to know what Roberto's ambition is for the brand.
What's special about Hot Wheels is that everyone's first car is a Hot Wheels car. And that naturally opens up the door for that brand engagement and for the expression of love for cars to be displayed through the lens of Hot Wheels. Now, what starts as a toy today for so many fans is not just about toys. It's about digital gaming. It's about live experiences. It's about content. So that's where we see the future of the brand, is that Hot Wheels will continue to find ways to be a part of people's love for cars and a way for people to express that. And the one project that I'm really excited about and looking forward to is the Hot Wheels movie that we are working with Warner Brothers and J.J. Abrams' Bat Robot that we're developing, and I can't wait to see that come to life. And we've created this culture where people are not afraid to push the limit of what's possible. And you can look at the sales trajectory and you can see the inflection point. It's exactly in that year when people just decided to go for it and to have the psychological safety and to have the collaboration to do that. So I'm just so proud of the ideas that they come up with every single week and the fact that they're not afraid to maybe take some swings and maybe fail sometimes. That's part of the journey.
That's all for this custom episode in partnership with Atlassian. Thanks for listening. This episode was produced by me, David Cohen, along with Avery Miles. Editing by Nicholas Torres.